areas in Uganda. There are some subsidies that we are given to talk about, subsidies or subsidy models that have been effective to increase the adoption of clean cooking in Uganda. So that we don't speak always 15% adoption or 90% using charcoal and firewood, but reducing the percentages because of some of the available incentives or available subsidies. And some of the subsidies we have got supply side subsidies and also demand side subsidies. These are some of the initiatives that are put forward by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development under the Government of Uganda, but also by different development partners or donors that support to increase the adoption of clean cooking in Uganda, to ensure that there is high uptake of the technologies. The demand side subsidy supports the end user. Who is the end user? The end user is you who wants to buy an electric pressure cooker, but it's very expensive. It costs over 300,000 shillings. So the Government of Uganda and some other partners come in to support to increase the adoption by giving you, I would say, a discount. That is the subsidy, 50%. You come with the national ID, you pay half of the total price of the technology. So this has increased the adoption of technologies. It has worked very well. The whole of last year, we have sold over 200,000 electric pressure cookers because of this initiative. We are people who have been having national IDs. We are given an opportunity to afford the technologies at halfway the price of the normal market price. But also we have the demand, the supply side subsidies, which support now the suppliers of the technologies. And this is now why most of the technologies are found in the central parts of the city, or central parts of Uganda, that is Kampala. When you talk of electric pressure cookers, they're in Kampala. When you talk of ethanol, we can see it in Kampala. When you talk of air fryers, most of them are centrally located in Kampala. Now the supply side subsidy comes in to support the suppliers to extend to beyond Kampala, to go and penetrate in hard to reach areas where they wouldn't go if they did not have this support. So this has stimulated the market and penetration of clean cooking in various areas of the city. Those are some of the initiatives that the government has put in place, plus the different development partners to support on increasing adoption of clean cooking in Uganda. We have got also what we call the result-based financing mechanism, and this has been purely supported by the Government of Uganda still through the Energy Access Scale-Up project under the UEPRC, Uganda Energy Capital. This is a little complicated. Uganda Energy Credit Capitalization Company that has given different subsidies still in form of result-based financing mechanisms for the companies that are dealing in implementing or distributing different technologies in Uganda. And this has increased the uptake of electric pressure cookers as well. It has increased the uptake of LPG. It has increased the uptake of ethanol as the fuel for cooking, but also ethanol stoves. And also it has increased the uptake of improved cook stoves in Uganda. So these initiatives, once they're in place, they can support the consumption or increase the adoption of these technologies in Uganda. We have got also targeted subsidies in the form of grants that support marginalized communities like the refugees who get actually the technologies at a free cost. They just line up and they get the technologies. Of course, I have supported them, but of course, I was also confident they say it is not sustainable, but at least it has helped in increasing the adoption or uptake of the technologies still in that category of that. Some of the subsidy models also come in for to afford the technologies in form of installments, that is pay-as-you-go models, whereby realistically, we can all agree that it is very expensive to install a biogas plant. That is very true. It is very expensive to install or to assemble a solar plant for cooking at home. It goes for almost 3.5 million. Biogas goes for 2.5. Mr. Hatem here can tell us. But also the simplest of the electric pressure cooker, it is 300,000 shillings. So you realize that these technologies are very good, but they are still very expensive. So some of the initiatives, some of the mechanisms like pay-as-you-go model, where you can afford the technology in installments, can be a very good take-off opportunity for the adoption of these technologies. However, much as we have these subsidies that are in play or in existence, we still have a lot of challenges, why the adoption is really still low. Some are major, some are minor. For example, we have perception of the end users, whereby we have a honorable minister who said the community does not adopt to some of the technologies like LPG in their communities, in their places, simply because of the color, which is yellow. So some of the members cannot even go to get them because they are like, I cannot be associated to this party. And therefore, the person ends up using charcoal and firewood just because of color. So we have to do a lot. I don't know which kind of sensitization that can be, such that people neglect some minor issues like color, but adopt the technologies. We have a serious issue of no electricity in the areas where we are creating awareness of these technologies or promoting these technologies. I'll give an example. As the Alliance, the whole of last year, we have moved to over 70 districts in Uganda, creating massive awareness campaigns about cooking clean and modern and reduce on charcoal, or stop using charcoal but use electricity. But we went to a district in Arua, but of course even many other districts are like that, whereby we are promoting electric pressure cookers which use electricity, but electricity was not sustainable, it was not reliable, first of all, and in most cases it was not even there. So they are telling us we are promoting a technology in a very wrong place, because it is a very good technology, but most of 50% of the whole city do not have electricity. So that is also a challenge as we are promoting this. The issue of upfront cost or very expensive costs or high costs attached on these technologies is still very, very key. Not only buying them, but also refilling, like what our dear guest of honor has talked about. Yes, you can take an electric pressure cooker, or you can take LPG, but how about refilling this technology? Do the people where we take these technologies, are they fit to constantly be refilling these technologies every after month at least? Because for some person to be taking away 100,000 shillings to refill an LPG could be really hard for most of the people. So we still have that challenge. Technologies are very expensive. An electric pressure cooker without a subsidy is 300,000 shillings. It is really expensive for most of the people to afford. Biogas installation is too much, of course, with other related issues attached. So we still have most of the challenges. And why do these technologies be expensive? Is mostly because of the taxes that are imposed on them. I'll give an example of an electric pressure cooker. Some implementers or the technology providers of the SAW technology told us that without import duties, without VAT, a pressure cooker can even cost to at least 150 to maximum 180,000 shillings in Uganda without tax on this. I'll give an example of the stoves which are behind there. And we intentionally brought them because we are creating awareness, and I'll talk about them when it comes to awareness creation. Those stoves, one can be 150,000 shillings normally, but without tax, it would go for only 85,000 shillings. So these are some of the challenges that we face that have made the technologies to be really very hard to be available or close to the end users. But also, knowledge on the existing subsidies or opportunities is still limited. Yes, we have talked about the subsidies, but I'm very sure some of us are hearing them for the first time here. I'm very sure some of us even do not know that there is LPG that has been distributed under the support of EPRC or Energy Access Care Project. So we have very many opportunities. Some of you are nearby Starbucks, but you don't even know that when you just get the national ID plus the letter of your LC1, you can go and they give you a free cylinder set or LPG set. So the information is limited. It is not well disseminated to the respective people who would rather benefit to get them. And that's where we should also focus on. But also limited awareness on the social, economic, and health benefits of using the modern technologies. Most of the people do not use these technologies, not because they don't have money, but one, they lack awareness about the social impact. If I buy an EPC, what are the benefits I will get? They lack information or awareness about the health benefits. Someone can die of asthma or pneumonia and you just think it is TB or asthma or pneumonia. Yet, that disease was inhaled due to the indoor air pollution that was captured as a result of cooking, probably from young childhood up to maturity. So what has the association done, and what has the private sector also done? We have tried to create a lot of massive awareness campaigns, because we know, most of us do not know that actually an electric pressure cooker, you can use 1,000 to cook the whole day, which is very hard for charcoal. Most of us do not know that you can mingle posho with an electric pressure cooker. You can cook molokonyi for only 50 minutes with only 500 shillings of electricity. Most of us don't know that an electric pressure cooker can do everything and stop using charcoal at all in your life. Why? Because of the wrong perceptions that we still say. Matoke cannot be sweet. I cannot kubobeza matoke. And yet with an electric pressure cooker, you can even is it steamering? You can kubobeza the toke in an electric pressure cooker. You can cook your beans in 30 minutes for 2 liters electricity. Now, it is a great work of the private sector, and actually this begins within us to be ambassadors and advocates for clean cooking by having these technologies, all of us. And we stop using charcoal, or we reduce on the charcoal consumption, because using charcoal is not bad, but how can we sustainably use charcoal? Now, we have also improved cook stoves, which are there. We brought them intentionally with intentions of creating awareness, because we are trying to create massive awareness campaigns in all the opportunities that we get. For example, those charcoal stoves, which are also on the subsidy of the government, if you have the national ID, you take them at halfway the price. Those charcoal stoves behind, just a handful of charcoal can cook for 5 hours without adding any more charcoal. Very clean, no smoke, no soot, but people are not aware of the existing available options that we can use to use charcoal, but in a way that is very minimally used. So those are some of the things. Just 1 minute. I'm trying to be very quick. I'm finished on this slide. Another big challenge that we have is the limited infrastructure. But of course, I talked about electricity being not available anywhere, but also the poor roads. That limits the distribution of these technologies. For example, most of the people fear to even buy gas, because by the time it reaches on the border, it can either burst, because we have had some scenarios of such a thing. So the poor roads that we have to carry these technologies, we have seen scenarios where our companies go to fat-rich areas. They went one time in Yumbe for an exhibition. They came back when the volcanic rocks are broken, those stoves are damaged, the pressure cookers are broken because of the poor road network systems that we do have. But also, most importantly, the poor quality and counterfeit products that we have. Because even if I talk about very good things on an electric pressure cooker and you buy it today, but after a month it breaks down, you will be disappointed. So most of the technologies we have, some of the companies are not regulated to bring quality products and standard products, therefore disappoint the consumers by buying counterfeit products on the market. What are some of the solutions? One, behavior change campaigns has been highlighted as one of the most rampant solutions. Ugandans do not have these technologies. Yes, they are a little expensive, but also they are not aware that they're existing. People do not know biogas can cook. People don't know ethanol can cook. They just say it is waraji, it cannot cook, and yet that waraji can cook. So we are trying to create a lot of massive awareness about the existing technologies and how the wrong perceptions can be removed. How can you convince a Muganda man to cook, to eat matoke in an electric pressure cooker? How can you convince someone to eat food cooked with biogas, knowing where it comes from? So we have to create a lot of awareness so that we remove the wrong perceptions. And what we do, for example, where we have gone in all the stakeholders' engagements, in all the districts I mentioned, we do what we call live clean cooking demonstrations. We mingle kalo in an electric pressure cooker when you're seeing. We cook molokonyi. For a few minutes, you can eat molokonyi. We cook beans when you're seeing, such that the wrong perceptions that you cannot cook any meal in an electric pressure cooker is taken away from people's minds. We also we had a solution that some of the technologies should be cheaper and affordable. For example, if I cannot afford a cylinder of 6 kgs, can the cylinder be packed or packaging cylinders in less than 6 kgs that can be affordable to most of the people? If I can't afford 6 kgs, I've seen some countries where the the LP cylinders can be packed in less than 6 kgs, so that most of the people can afford these technologies. Pay-as-you-go models to allow installment payments, so that it increases affordability of these technologies, but also subsidies should be on various technologies. Let's not say it is on EPCs alone, it is on gas, but other technologies, including briquettes, including all the technologies, so that it becomes accessible, because someone might want EPCs, yet the person is not comfortable with using the other technologies. So we should allow the subsidies to cross-cut all the technologies. We have the e-cooking tariff to favor electricity, or cooking with electricity. Unfortunately, you benefit when you have used over 80 units. So when you see the community members, most of the Ugandans range between 50 to 70. They cannot go beyond the 80 to benefit the electric tariffs for cooking. So we are advocating for reducing the electric tariffs, that say that most of the people can really benefit on these electric tariffs. Substandard products, we are working with the Ministry of Energy, UNBS, and different stakeholders to develop some of the standards. However, we have already existing standards in the room, but the issue is lack of awareness about these existing standards. We have standards for the households on improved cook stoves. We have them for the biogas. We have them for the institutional biogas, which is undergoing, and also the national standards on e-cooking are being developed by the different stakeholders. But even the existing standards are not, people do not know about them. And that's why they just manufacture their products in any way that they want, because they are not there. Even those which are there, they are not enforced. Still, someone can still manufacture counterfeit products because there is no serious enforcement on the different standards that are available. Question 2, I'll be skipping some of the things, good enough, they are there. Question 2 was on, how can the risk mechanism attract private sector? The technology, but also supporting sustainable charcoal value chains with improved kilns for charcoal producers, and providing incentives for sustainable biomass production, for example, supporting agroforestry community forest managers. And then the last question was, how can risk-sharing mechanisms attract private investment? By engaging in different financing mechanisms and guarantees like RBF, which we talked about, whereby companies receive incentives or payments after verifying or after the verifications of the items that are delivered to the different end users, and also providing clear regulations and standards to build confidence to the private sector and also the consumers of the technologies. Otherwise, thank you so much, my group members, for this. I think this is the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Group 2. But me, people who will continue to task each group, because we have a lot of information. But they always ask us, if you met the president in the lift today, what will that group tell him to do about sustainable charcoal production in Uganda? So I'm tasking the group again. Come up with one recommendation that needs to be acted on immediately by policymakers. Which institution should lead this? And how do we ensure that this recommendation does not undermine livelihoods? And what financing or policy measure is required to address it? You have come up with so many. But in the challenges, I have to say that one major challenge cut across, and that was behavior change. We always talk about awareness, sensitization, but our interventions never focus on changing behavior. So from there, that is a whole list. Everything was awareness, apart from maybe taxation, access to electricity, infrastructure, but most of what the group highlighted as challenges were sensitization, awareness related, uptake related. So as you refocus on one, please bear that in mind. Let's have group two, the last group, which is group one. And I pray that yours is shorter because we are really running out of time. So group one, can you please come and make your presentation? And each group, since we won't have time to discuss really, because we've really busted our stay here, that is why I'm tasking each group to come up with that one recommendation, because at the end of the day, that is what we want commitments on. I had forgotten that this group also has a person to make remarks, but I would rather say not remarks, but commitments. You've listened in. What do you want to commit your institution to take forward? And your Mr. Dan Malone, you introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. My name is Dan Malone. I work with Uganda National Renewable Energy and the Energy Efficiency Alliance, UNREA, as the Chairman Board of Directors. And I stay in Mukono district, so Honorable Sheila Amanio is my woman MP. I want to appreciate you for coming to this place. I also want to appreciate EPRC for inviting us to this meeting. A wonderful dialogue. I hope my group, our presentation is ready because control tower, please. Our group is group one, and the chair was Mr. Isaka Twesche from Ministry of Water and Environment. Our secretary was Sheila Nakazi from EPRC. We also had the privilege of Honorable Christine Kiro from Erute County, Michael Tevere from Kijani Forestry, and 8 other members. So thank you very much. So cognizant that each one of us in the room has already received your lunch coupon, I am the only person now standing between your lunch and this presentation, so I'll try to be as fast as possible. Our group, which was group one, was basically to talk about rethinking the charcoal supply chains, especially from production, distribution, to trade. But then we said that the supply chain cannot be complete until we have the consumers, because those are the ones that are at the end of the value chain. So ladies and gentlemen, we started by defining who the stakeholders are, and we've listed them there. The landowners, the charcoal burners, the retailers and wholesalers, tree nursery owners, seed collectors, farmers, woodland owners, charcoal consumers, transporters, and the district, not just district forestry officers, but the district local government in general. Next, please. What was the first question? Who are the winners and who are the losers in the transition from charcoal to clean cooking alternatives? Our list for the winners was the country as Uganda, that we're increasing the tree cover through restoration, which is beneficial to our environment, and which is very important to look at the context of the region and to identify the best tree planting technology. And then we said that the institutions that are involved in seed collecting and banking are also going to be the winners when we involve ourselves in the transition. Then the farmers that are farming, that are involved in the tree planting by integrating wood fuel trees within the cropping system. They can grow trees for charcoal instead of just cutting them from the existing forests, natural forests. And then the woodland owners are also going to be winners because of the potential if they sell the trees and they obtain the true value of the trees, and not just the trees, but also the charcoal. Because at the moment, charcoal is cheaper. The charcoal will be actually cheaper due to the freely available trees. They'll not just have the charcoal, but they'll also be intercropping, and they'll have a mixed kind of cultivation or agriculture. Excuse me. Then the consumers, we the end users, that we shall be able to access our clean cooking alternatives, as Madame Sarah has talked about, with less impact on human health. And then the sixth one is that the alternative energy sources, like she has explained ably, like liquid petroleum gas dealers and the suppliers. But then we put a disclaimer that even with all those alternatives, so far we have been trying to go an extra mile to bring out these alternatives. But the experience has shown that the social and behavioral aspects have not transitioned much, have not changed much. Like she has ably explained, people still want to stick on the traditional methods of cooking. So transition from charcoal hasn't worked and doesn't seem to be very practical. On the side of the losers, we didn't list many losers. I think we had more of winners than losers. There are these amorphous, very notorious category of stakeholders called the charcoal cartels. And these are the commercial charcoal producers and people that actually are behind the curtains. The dealers from central Uganda mainly, they used to aggregate from different producers, ferrying, using bicycle, using motorcycles, using tricycles. Then they hire acres of land with trees cheaply. These pieces of land are communally owned. They clear all the trees for the sake of charcoal. And actually, they benefit more than actually the owners of the land and even the traders, the actual traders, because these ones are, they take like over 40% of the profits that accrue from the sale of charcoal. Next, please. The next question was, which was the second question, what are the livelihood alternatives if we're trying to transition from charcoal? What are the livelihood alternatives that exist for the value, the charcoal supply value chain? One, we're talking about charcoal farming, that with the on-farming sourcing, the environment is protected and as natural forest will be left intact. Then we also said that the other alternative would be agroforestry, which involves integrating trees into an agricultural system by obtaining income from both agriculture and then wood fuel. Then we have nursery trees, the people that give us nursery trees so that we can be able to plant on these farms. They'll also be benefiting. So that's an alternative, an alternative livelihood for people that are involved in charcoal production. Beef farming or apiculture is an interesting one. Then we can also replace or repackage our trade according to the consumer needs. You know, we don't, at the moment, like for us consumers, when you go to the market to buy charcoal, it's always a standard price, and yet it can be categorized. So we're looking at from production level, from at the end, at the side of where it is coming from. We can have different categories or different prices or different levels, different values of packaging, so that through the value chain, we can also have it at the end of the value chain. The consumers know that this is maybe for my restaurant, this is for my chips, or this is whatever the case may be, so that it's aggregated. This will help in reducing post-harvest handling rather. Then there are fruit farming. That's also a good alternative. Poultry keeping, production of charcoal briquettes, although we still have a challenge of the mindset that people say that if we're talking about promoting, rather curtailing the promotion of charcoal, and then for the briquettes, most of the the inputs for making briquettes is coming from charcoal. So aren't we shooting ourselves in the foot? But we still have to promote it either way. And then finally, carbon trading, which has carbon credits and carbon financing. And then the third and the last question was, how will a sustainable solution to the charcoal production for the livelihoods look like? And we just had three small bullets. One of it is talking about the charcoal certification, to ensure that there are charcoal standards that are met, right from packaging to the personnel, protective equipment, actual health, because a member brought out the issue of the overloading of the trucks, especially these ones coming from northern Uganda. That means that you cannot be able to overtake, so that one causes a safety hazard on the road. And sometimes accidents have occurred because of that kind of packaging. You know, a person says that you can bypass a road traffic officer, you just give him something small and then he lets the truck pass. But when you look at the kind of loading that that truck is involved in, it's very dangerous. So we need a more sustainable solution in terms of standards, in terms of packaging. And then secondly, we reduce taxes on LPG. That one has already been emphasized. We can't overemphasize it. And the tariffs on electricity to increase the uptake. Recently, we had the Minister of Energy and the Electricity Regulatory Authority. During the time of Umeme, there was this campaign called Fumbi Sayaka, which in Luganda is a Luganda word, which means you can cook on electricity, and then there is that tariff specifically for the people that are cooking using electricity. So we need that tariff maybe to come lower, because right now it starts from the 80th unit. So an ordinary person like you and me, maybe you'll never have time or chance to consume 80 units in an ordinary household. So maybe we should talk to Electricity Regulatory Authority this time, this quarter, when they're revising their tariff to bring it slightly lower than where it is right now. And then finally, the adoption of the improved charcoal kilns, e.g. the Casamance kilns. Those are the improved ones and much more. Ladies and gentlemen, unless I have supplement from my group, that is what we discussed as Group 1. I want to thank you.
Thank you so much for trying to stick to time. I could see the presentation was still continuing on the other interventions that can be undertaken, but we shall read it. Allow me, I skipped the person who had been prepared to give some remarks and commitment on Group 2's work, and that was Ms. Muyanja Hatim, Energy Officer, Bioenergy, Ministry of Energy. Are you here? Please make it brief and short, and what we are interested in is the commitment you want to make as we move forward with the transition.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As introduced, my name is Hatim Muyanja. I work with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. Our commitment from our side are basically four. One is in terms of giving the policy direction, in terms of having a legal and regulatory framework, more so on the supply side and also the demand. Developing the required standards and also developing the strategies and plans that speak to the sustainable transition. Two is the issue of the behavior change campaign. We've noted that this is an issue that we need to move on, changing the mindset of our people. And then three, much as we are promoting the issue of charcoal production and also utilization, we shall also continue to look at the alternative technologies, and this will lessen the pressure on the charcoal and also the wood biomass. And this will include the biogas, the electric pressure cookers, those who are cooking with electricity, the LPG, we already have a program distributing the same, and also briquettes and also the ethanol for cooking. And then the last one is on the issue of the coordination with the private sector to ensure that we have the private people getting into this business and also regulating them. And lastly, as government, we are now working in a program-based approach. So we shall continue to work with the sister MDAs to ensure that what we are doing aligns to what our Ugandans need. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping it precise. And next, I want to invite Mr. Issa Katwesige, Assistant Commissioner of Forestry Planning and Development, to also give us some commitments on rethinking the supply chain, the livelihoods question. Is he here? Welcome.
Thank you. William Mawenu is my name. I'm a senior forest officer, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Issa Katwesige, the Assistant Commissioner, Forest Policy and Planning. As a ministry, our role mainly is on the resource. Ministry of Energy looks more at the conversion of the raw material, so which is the tree, the wood, into energy. But for us now, our role is how do we ensure that we have the planting materials? So the nursery support is very key. The tree species, not every tree is suitable for biomass because of the calorific value issues and what have you. So in that respect, as a ministry, we are ready to support that. Then the other issue is on promotion of standards. We are having a challenge. You can grow a good plantation for wood biomass, but it's another to manage or maintain it to ensure that you get the volumes of biomass that you need. So people, you know, they have this concept that you grow the trees, you leave them there. At the end of the day, you're not going to get the volumes that you need after 2-3 years. Because we are doing growth modeling, we are trying to see that in year 3, if you anticipated to get, let's say, 40 cubic meters of wood from a given acreage, you actually get it. So that goes with capacity building, the monitoring, and other issues therein. But the other thing that's very important is the resource mobilization. As a ministry, between 2002 and now, we've had several projects that are promoting trees for biomass. And by 2000, we had about 18,000 hectares of forests. Right now, we have about 400,000. I'm talking of planted forests, not the natural, planted forests. That's a big investment that has gone in there. The European Union alone has invested over 15 million euros to ensure that people are actually planting trees for biomass. We had SPGS 1, Solar Production Grant Scheme 1. It contributed to 10,000 hectares. SPGS 2, 28,000 hectares of plantations for biomass and other forest products. We had a specific project on biomass, forest management and sustainable charcoal value chain project. It was looking at growing the resource and then the technologies, the Casamansi kilns and other issues. So what we are talking about here is a waste of time if we do not have the what? The resources. These people, the Kijanis, private sector, the ones who are distributing these efficient energy cooking stoves, they need resources. These stoves need to be subsidized. So government, we need to work to see to it that these issues are actually addressed. Then the issue of collaboration. We have private sector doing their work. We have government doing the work. We have academia doing their work. But if, for example, academia is undertaking the research and it's remaining on the shelves, we are not moving forward. We need that coordination. And the coordination in this case, from the government side, we need to kind of do that outreach to engage these research institutions. Now, not only the engagement, but also financing the research. Research costs money. It costs money to go do that data collection, to interview, to analyze, to do the things. Different scenarios were being painted here. These institutions need finances. These trees are put in a research plot. If you're bringing a new species, you put it in a research plot and you monitor it for like 2-3 years. And you'll be monitoring like 5, 6, 7 species. After which you base on that to recommend that for northern Uganda in this agroecological zone, this species is suitable. For western Uganda, this species is suitable. For central, this species is suitable. We have our National Forestry Resources Research Institute, which is tasked with doing forestry research for the sector. That includes trees of different kinds, whether fuel wood, whether agroforestry or apiculture, whether timber, whichever thing we can talk about here. So these are some of the things that ministry can contribute to. Finally, most of the wood biomass in this country actually does not come from natural forests. It comes from savanna woodlands. Unfortunately, these are areas that are being managed by people in their own ways. Everyone manages in their own way. And the true price of charcoal is not what we are paying now. Why? The wood biomass is being picked from these areas freely. So if the people who are carbonizing, if they were to pay the true price of that wood biomass, the charcoal would be more expensive. And I want to assure you that time is not far from now, because those woodlands have severely deteriorated. Right in acreage, right now we are talking of an acreage of forest cover of about 12.6%. I saw in the presentations here that we are losing around 72,000. I think that's not correct. We are losing much more. The last report, State of Forestry report, put what we are losing at 122,000 hectares annually. That's what we are losing annually. And that dates back to 2016. I'm sure if we did a recent study, I'm sure it will be much more than the 122,000. The most recent biomass inventory has put our forest cover at 12.6% as of 2023. 12.6%, up from 24%. The target of the sector is to get back to the 24%. The 24% is a 1990 level statistic. So between 1990 and now and today, from 24% to 12%. We have the Uganda bamboo strategy. It has indicated that we want to use bamboo because bamboo grows fast. These other indigenous species grow slowly, as we all know. They produce good energy, but they grow slowly. The opportunity with bamboo, some of the species grow fast, and they equally give you relatively good calorific value. Now, with bamboo, in that strategy, the target is to contribute to 375,000 hectares by 2029. The Bond Challenge talks of restoring the country by 2.5 million hectares. If you do the math, the bamboo stakeholders are saying by contributing 375,000 hectares, we have contributed 15% of the 2.5 million hectares. So for them as a sector, they are saying, if we give you 375, we've done our work. Then the rest of the other interventions contribute the rest of the balances. So as a ministry, we are ready to support in the regard to some of those areas that I've raised. But most importantly, the coordination with the different partners. That's very, very, very important. Research continues crying, and they'll continue to cry that they don't have funds. But we have emerging issues. We need to facilitate them to get us this data such that we can make the decisions on policy and practice adequately. Thank you.
Thank you, William, for highlighting those critical issues of resource mobilization, for research, of coordination, and issues of the different species and all the others you've pointed out. I participated in a group where they took even the dilemma to a different dimension and said, over 100 years in the whole of Africa, attempts have been made to transition from charcoal to these other alternative sources, but no great success has been achieved. And somebody raised the issue, should we be looking at sustaining production of charcoal and do it? We can't run away from charcoal. That was the argument. But the issue is, how do we continue to produce it sustainably? But then the other flip side of the coin was, there are other alternatives. What do we need to do to scale up, to increase uptake of those alternatives? And I think the discussion today has to some extent tried to balance, but our interventions have skewed more towards continuing to use charcoal, but do it sustainably. Now, this other flip side, the issue that has come up is the issue of uptake. That yes, investments have been there, but uptake is not happening. So how do we increase uptake? For me, that is where, as we move forward, that is where we have to see, how do we move this side? Which interventions do we take away for saying, yes, we are continuing with charcoal production, use it, but this is the way we'll use it sustainably. This side, we have alternative clean energy, but these are the interventions we need to take to increase its uptake. For me, that has been my takeaway from this. I know the rest of you could also have takeaways, but as before I wind off, we had quite a number of members of Parliament present here. I would like to give one who is representing the chairperson of the Natural Resources Committee to say a few words on what do you take away and what do you commit as members of Parliament to do about this issue that we've been debating today of a just transition of charcoal, from ensuring sustainable charcoal production, which honorable member is here and wants to make some commitments on behalf. You know, for us, EPRC, this is the new trend. We don't only dialogue, but we want to live with commitments made, so that afterwards we can push evidence to you to support the commitment you have made, so that we further to ensure that we have policy actions taken. So, honorable members, anyone willing to volunteer? Or the one who has the mandate? Thank you so much. You will introduce yourself again.
Thank you very much. My name is Frederick Angura. I am the Member of Parliament for Tororo South County and also a member of the Environment and Natural Resources Committee. I did receive instructions from my chair to come and be part of this engagement, but unfortunately there are also many activities that the speaker had assigned me on the other side. So I have listened to the discussions that have gone on and the various groups that have also made presentations. I want to take cognizance of what our representative from the Ministry of Energy has said. We really thank you very much, and also the Ministry of Water and Environment. We from the policy side, and especially the consumers of what comes from our ministries, we will definitely work with what you will generate from here through our respective ministries that we deal with, to ensure that we make a contribution for the good of all of us benefiting. The challenges here are still glaring. You've talked about in your summary of the two sides. It is quite common, and we have had these engagements time and again, that whereas we want to see how to transit, but the transition has not been forthcoming. The LPG distribution started. We want to thank our team that was involved in that. The UECC and team have also been giving us information about the support they have been giving in terms of subsidizing on the services, the cooking services, but still that other cost is a problem to our communities. Now, we've talked of a subsidy of 50%. That 50% is being enjoyed within the urban settings. Can we do better and see to it how we can attract the rural settings to benefit from that? When you heard about the demand of 100,000 to refill a gas, 100,000, I think that cannot help us sort out this interest of the transition with our rural communities. I want to make reference to Ministry of Water and Environment concerning the species, the tree species. He was spot on, and time and again we have also had challenge in that direction. How do we protect the local species that can give us value? First of all, their growth is a problem, but also to support us in ensuring that we take care of that rural community that is not yet about to transit. So with those few remarks, let's wait for what you will come up with. I also want to inform you that I am one of the survivors, so we will be in the house to receive what you will come up with and process it accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable, and congratulations on being the survivors. You know, sometimes we as we try to engage, policy engagement, you always find yourself starting afresh whenever there is a new election. But when you have a few members who've been there for some time, it helps for continuity. So we are happy that you've been on the committee, and we look forward to engaging more with the committee. I wish at this juncture to thank all of you for a very rich discussion. Today's dialogue has shown that Uganda's charcoal challenge is not simply an environmental issue, but it's about livelihoods, it's about energy access, it's about financing, and it's also a governance issue. The way forward, therefore, will require coordinated policy action, realistic clean cooking alternatives, support for affected value chain actors, and strong institutional alignment and coordination. Therefore, on behalf of EPRC, I wish to thank all speakers, chairpersons, the MDAs that have been present here, our honorable members of parliament, our development partners, colleagues from the private sector, media, and the civil society representatives, all of you and all of us participants, for the valuable contributions we have made. Your insights will help shape practical recommendations for a more sustainable and inclusive transition in charcoal production and utilization. Thank you. This is the end of our session today. and on behalf of our executive director, I want to say, when we invite you again, please come. But also another appeal is that we have a wealth of knowledge and resources on various topics, developmental issues in Uganda. Visit our website. We have a lot of knowledge there. But also contact us. We sit at Makerere University, opposite the swimming pool. Please come, talk with us, engage with us on various subjects. Our research spans from agriculture to environment to economics to all development aspects. We've done roads, we've done it all. So please engage with us so that we can continue to advance the agenda of evidence-informed policy making. Asante sana, Mungu awabarikie. Safari njema. Oh, my colleague has reminded me that we should have a group photo. Where is my colleague Alon, Damson, where are you, so that we can quickly coordinate the group photo, and hope all of you have your coupons for lunch. And there is a team that will also handle other matters based on invitation. It's just invite alone that those other matters will be handled. I don't need to unearth more than that. So enjoy your lunch, but before we go for lunch, group photo, where do we take it? Alon, Damson, where are you? Oh, evaluation form. Kindly submit the evaluation, leave them on the tables. Leave the evaluation forms on the tables, then we'll pick them. We truly, truly appreciate them because they help us to know how to improve our next dialogues. Thank you so much.